What's up, guys? Thank you all for checking out our last edition of our Wandavision episode recap review. I'm EJ, joined by Shamari and Kendall. We know this will indeed be not just our last one of this season, but it'll be the last one ever because this episode 9, titled "The Series Finale," puts a cap on Wandavision as a project, as a season, and as a series. So this was a lot to get to. I think there's a lot of different opinions, different feelings about certain things, what they did show, what they didn't show. So I'm excited to see what my guys got to say. Shamari and Kendall, what was your initial thoughts on this episode?
Uh, yeah. So this is it, EJ. This is the last one. Um, my initial thoughts are very positive, of course. So, like every episode, a lot of intrigue, a lot of excitement. This was a very good episode. I thought it was a great finale. There was a lot of action. There was a lot of emotion. A lot of twists and turns and things that I didn't necessarily expect. Things where I didn't know what was going to happen. So yeah, overall gut reaction is I thought it was great.
Yeah. I mean, it was interesting. I mean, obviously, like you said, last episode of WandaVision. I don't think we'll be going too long because we got Falcon and Winter Soldier coming up. So, these all feel like one big.
No rest for the weary for us, I guess.
Yeah, or Kevin Feige for that matter. But with that being said, this finale is interesting because I think if you judge it as an episode, and it just as a season finale, I think it was a good episode. We'll get to the ratings and stuff at the end, but I think the expectations, some of it, 90% of it, self-inflicted. Definitely they affected the reaction from some people. But without a doubt, I think just judging it as an episode, this was a very good season finale for what we got throughout the whole season.
And I do want to, before we get into the episode, I do want to just start on that point, only because you mentioned it, and I think it's probably best to address it here. And a lot of people are talking about this episode, and again, what it maybe didn't pertain, perhaps no major Easter egg, no major appearance from a Marvel character or X-Men character or anything like that. We'll get to what they did with Pietro or Ralph or whatever you want to call him now. We'll get to all that, but I'm seeing a lot of people defend the show, and a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, it's not your fault that your expectations, went through the roof, and then they didn't meet them. Like they were telling a story, and this is the story they want to tell." No, it is their fault. Like I'm gonna keep it 100. Like I love Marvel, I love all what they do, and I love this season, I love this episode. But it was Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany going over the top with their comments about what was gonna be in this show. Luke Skywalker appearance. An actor I never got to work with before that nobody's guessing, and it's going to really wow people. I mean, they went over the top with trying to put their show over, and
yeah,
I think the people that are saying, "Oh, well, it's the fans that are complaining right now. They're just sour fans who just didn't get what they want." No, I that's a little harsh. The actors now, it wasn't Kevin Feige, it wasn't Schaefer, it wasn't the director, it wasn't any of the people producing the project.
So,
but the actors had a lot of fun with it, and I think they went a little too far because this is a show that did lay some tea leaves out. So with the tea leaves they did lay out, people were of course, were gonna go haywire in what they thought was gonna happen.
I agree with you for the most part. I think you're shooting them even more bail than I would, because I think it's two pronged. I think you're right that a lot of the actors. Even Tiana Paris talking about I can't wait for you guys to see who the aerospace engineer is. Just stuff where it's like a lot of stuff didn't have to be said. So people defending Elizabeth Olsen about the Luke Skywalker thing because they asked her, "Is there a Luke Skywalker like moment?" And she could have dodged. She could have been like, you guys should see the show. And determine whether or not you think this is a Luke Skywalker moment." I would assume she's talking about the Scarlet Witch. To me, I think it'll be interesting to see whether or not this show decides, whether or not Marvel thinks that the Scarlet Witch is like a Luke Skywalker type of character. And of course, you have that. Then you have the Paul Bettany thing talking about himself. That was a complete joke. I think Olsen was semi-serious about what she was saying, and it's fine. But again, you set those expectations at a certain level. But I think it's two-pronged in the fact that I think the writers with like the aerospace engineer moment or writing in there's a missing person in there with the FBI, witness protection, like stuff like that they just didn't address, or they fell completely flat on some of those things. Writing Tyler Hayward the way they did, as if there was some sort of mystery behind him, and then the Quicksilver thing, like that wasn't, I'm not blaming the actors on that. That was another Mandarin situation, which we'll talk about that more in depth. But like, so some of that I do think is the writers. They had to do damage control this week because I think they saw it was getting out of control and they didn't want people to be too, disappointed. And I'm glad they did. They had to, but certainly interesting.
Yeah. There were a lot of things that, I mean, after watching this episode, and if you've been following the buzz online, which I'm sure if you're watching this, you probably have been, about the long list of theories. All these people talking about Blue Marvel is going to show up, Professor X is going to show up, Wonder Man's going to show up.
We were convinced even Doctor Strange.
We were 100% convinced.
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Spider-Man,
McGuire,
Hugh Jackman. Everybody was supposed to show up in this show apparently. So it was really getting out of control, and I agree with both of you guys. So I think it's the writers, it's the actors, it's everything. I mean, to me, the most unforgivable one is Quicksilver. I mean, I feel like that's the most blatant thing of, we're just gonna tease the fans basically.
So, I'll put it out there. I mean, I mentioned there's comparisons to the Mandarin. Obviously, we find out that Quicksilver is a guy named Ralph Boner who just apparently lives in Westview, and that's just his house. And Agnes pulled up on his house and took him over.
Yeah.
Is that worse than the Mandarin? Like, is this because there were some people making that case that this was worse than the Mandarin Iron Man 3? I won't go that far because WandaVision was better than Iron Man 3. As a property in general, so the overall blow isn't as bad. Like the Mandarin thing ruined the movie. Like the movie couldn't recover. WandaVision is fine despite this thing. This is probably a little more disappointing, I would say though.
Yeah, I would say that to me, I think it's worse. I think it's worse because I don't think of it from like the guise of like what it meant for the show. I just think about it like the decision making. Because with the Mandarin, while what they had established with Iron Man 3 was really dope and seemed like it was going in a great direction, I mean, there wasn't... It was so contained to just that movie and just what that meant for that story, that once the story changed, okay, well, the story changed. You didn't like where it was going, but it was still contained within Iron Man. I mean, including Quicksilver, you're talking about taking an actor from a different universe, and you're talking about multiverses, and... like you're teasing Nexus, like all these things that you're putting out there, that puts you in a different mindset, and that kind of explodes the expectations. So when you go that far down the line, like I really I'm surprised, and there are some people saying, oh, maybe he still is Quicksilver. I'm surprised that we did not get him to be the X-Men Quicksilver on this episode. It just seemed like it was hook, line, and sinker ready for them to go, and they just pulled the shoot, and I mean, the joke didn't land. There was nothing interesting about it. I mean,
I thought Evan Peters did a pretty good job in this episode. But like by the end, you're disappointed.
I mean, it just didn't work. I mean, there was there was the punchline just didn't. None of it worked. Like I would argue, even the Mandarin character, which was the actor, like Kingsley. I mean, he was way more entertaining. Like the reveal was stupid, but it was entertaining. Like this was just like, what is a boner joke? Really? This is what we're doing? Like for what? Like it just seemed like I just think it was bad. I mean, it's the one thing from the show I would say that if someone in that writers' room needed to say this isn't it. If we wanted to do something, we should have.
And Kevin Feige said last week during that Marvel panel at that conference that Evan Peters, like that they cast him, somebody just really wanted to mess with Wanda. That's what he had said at the time. That doesn't make any sense. Like in hindsight, she doesn't know anything about any X-Men, Quicksilver. Right. Like that's messing with the audience. That's what you're doing. I mean, it's fine. Just admit it. Just admit. I mean, I guess you don't want to spoil it, but like, story wise, there is no connection to bring in Evan Peters to play that character.
Yeah, it's very strange. I don't understand really the logic of it. I mean, I think this is worse than the Mandarin personally for a few reasons. I agree with you, EJ, that I feel like the Mandarin joke landed better than what this was. And, I think that more people, and I don't know, I could be wrong about this, but especially given Evan Peters' Quicksilver, I feel like more people wanted this Quicksilver in this universe than people wanted the Mandarin necessarily in the MCU. I could be wrong about that, sure, but given that Evan Peters did such a good job playing Quicksilver, I feel like people were much more excited to see this Quicksilver in the MCU than people were excited to see the Mandarin in Iron Man 3.
Even the trailers were like, there was hype.
There was a lot of hype.
Like, people thought that was coming off the heels of, the Dark Knight Rises, and people comparing them.
Yeah.
Or Bane, who's going to be a better villain? And I mean, those questions seem ridiculous. Now, we forget about that stuff. But like, the hype for Mandarin it wasn't Thanos level, but it was closer to like Ultron. Where it was like, oh man, like the Mandarin.
And I mean, Evan Peters, he was such a good Quicksilver. And to make a joke out of it,
and he was good in this show.
He was good in the show.
Yeah. He really botched it, and it's unfortunate. Now, look, what we're proposing, like, it seems like a leap, or like quite the undertaking to tell Marvel, like, bring in the Fox version of Quicksilver, really do this. But they also have. I didn't tell them to make a movie called Multiverse of Madness.
I didn't tell them to bring Evan Peters in the fold.
Like, no one told you to bring Evan Peters in the fold.
That didn't have to happen.
And even if he is the Fox Quicksilver, like, no one was saying he's got to be the Quicksilver and everything going forward. Like he could have been just the Fox Quicksilver in this, and like that could have been an Easter egg, and that was it. Like, he didn't have to be in every Avengers movie going forward. Like, this could have been the last time we saw him, but like ultimately, like, that payoff would have been still
or
been
like
incredible.
Have him be somebody, have him be Mephisto, have him be Nightmare, have him be a Skrull. I don't know, something.
Right.
Give me something.
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd say that was the disappointment.
I don't know why he had super speed. Like, I mean, I guess there's some.
I guess Agnes, whatever those were.
Yeah, the Agnes chain, whatever she gave him, I guess gave him.
That's such a lame. Like, so she's just giving she can give anybody superpowers. I mean, I guess it's possible. It's magic, but like, to me, like, you just write. That's just writers writing stuff at that point.
Yeah. It was.
The second Evan Peters showed up, it was just a troll.
Yeah, and it's funny. As soon as I saw, shout out to the Illuminati. They came with the report the day before this show came out that Mutant Project is on the way. I said it was interesting to me because of two things. I already thought either one, they're gonna do damage control on what we're gonna see for WandaVision, or they're gonna set up. They want the word out there to set up what we're gonna see, which would be good. It was either gonna be one way or the other. And I think we got probably the lesser when it came to the Quicksilver reveal. I do want to get to the other parts of this episode. And one of the things about this episode, obviously, that was different than any other episode, is this is pretty much a straight action episode. All 49.
Yeah, it felt longer because of that.
Yeah, I know it's like 49 minutes, and then you got the post-credit scene and the credits that are there. But this sets us right into the action. There is no setup. It's a full-on brawl. You got Agatha versus Wanda. You got Vision versus Vision. Even scenes outside the Hex with Jimmy Woo getting in the fold and him being taken into custody. We don't know actually why or how he got taken into custody by a sword, which I thought was interesting. I think some things probably got cut in post. But
this episode, I was just gonna say, I don't want to cut you off, but I was just gonna say this episode felt so. I mean, we said it last week. Like I said, if this episode is shorter than 50 minutes, it's going to be limited in how good it can be. I think there's just a lot. It ended up being a better episode than I would have expected, given the time period, or given the length. But this episode left a lot of meat on the table, a lot of meat on the bone.
Yeah, this episode probably needed to be an hour.
An hour, yeah.
Yeah, it needed to be an hour.
White Vision just shows up.
How did he get in how he got in there? Yeah, we don't know.
I thought that thing was supposed to be like super secure at that point. And he just shows up and he's in there, and I'm like, I'm not gonna fight him on it. Like it was still cool. Was
and we do know that because they had sent the drone in that worked, and they had her chaos magic. Like I think it's kind of like 1 +
so,
1 = 2. So they just assume that you'll. But like I think we need to see him enter the hex. I think that was an important
Right.
imagery.
Even when Wanda's fighting Agnes and she does the thing, she puts the spell on Agnes that, puts her back at the Salem witch trials. Like she kind of just sneaks up from behind her. But like the last time the scene before that when we saw them fighting, like they just went into the sky and then they cut and Wanda sneaks up from behind her. I'm like, how did she?
Well, she turned herself invisible. I don't know if you saw that, but
Okay.
Yeah, she turned herself invisible.
I watched the episode twice. I didn't catch that either time.
I didn't catch that.
I don't know. Maybe
Shamari just
right?
I didn't catch that at the time either.
I didn't catch that either.
Yeah, she turned herself invisible.
Oh,
she did something snapped or something.
Yeah,
like
that's a great catch because I didn't get it. I was like, wow, all right, but that makes more sense now.
I will say that was a dope callback to, obviously what we saw in Age of Ultron, like that ability. Like we haven't seen her do that in a long time. So to see her go in someone's head like that and put them into it, like a vision world, a dream world that was a nightmare. We saw her do that to Tony Stark, obviously, in Age of Ultron. I thought that was a neat callback. This episode, I know we've been very critical for people listening, but like this episode had some ish. It had some ish. That was dope. There were a couple of dope moments, but yeah, this episode I agree. I think it probably needed to be an hour. There were just a couple of things that just needed to be tied up a little bit. Even seeing Monica's role in all of this kind of was just very tidy.
Ancillary, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It just needed a little more. It just needed a little
very
more.
haphazard.
Yeah. I will say, I did enjoy Vision's kind of journey in this episode. I know people have been joking about the ship of Thesis conversation he had with himself in a way, but to be honest, like to me, like you read a Vision comic book, like that's the most Vision way I could see him defeating somebody that you could ever see. Yeah, of course he would. If he thought it to himself, like this is how they would probably work this out, and I thought that was smart. He was able to reason with that Vision in that way. We know that White Vision is out there. He just left the Hex, so he's around. So Vision is in the fold. It's just not going to be the Vision that Wanda created, and we'll see what this new Vision becomes now that he knows everything that happened to him, but he's still not the same, and obviously he doesn't have the Mind Stone either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Vision versus Vision fight was great.
Oh yeah, it was great. Like Bendy wasn't lying when he said that those scenes that they're going to share were intense.
They were good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they were legitimately really good.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that fight was great. The Wanda versus Agatha fight was great.
Yeah.
I mean, and also, can we talk first of all, of course, Wanda does a spell on Agatha. That was cool.
Yep.
I saw it coming. I was like, she did it.
You saw it coming, because the first time I watched it, I didn't catch what she was doing, but I didn't realize. Yeah, you see her hitting the walls of the Hex.
Yep.
And when I watched it the first time, I'm watching it at 8:30 a.m. But like when I watched it the first time, like I think he's shooting at her and whatever, and she's missing sometimes. But then when you watch it the second time, you see, oh no, she is hitting these walls to lay these hexes on, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, so she sets that up, and then can we talk about that costume? When we saw the
costume is money. The costume it might be the best
costume.
Yeah, it might be the best costume Marvel has going right now.
That's easily one of the best costumes that Marvel has.
Because let's go through it. I mean, I like her costume better than the new Spider-Man costume.
Black Panther was great.
Yeah.
We'll see
we'll see what the new we don't, unfortunately we've lost Chadwick, so he's kind of canceled right now. Canceled, not in the word that
right,
but you know what I'm saying. Let's see who else we have. I like her costume better than anything we've seen in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Better than Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel has a really great costume, but they're kind of trying to get look at the wall, get cheat over there.
Better than Thor.
Better than Thor. It's better than anybody on the Guardians. I mean, it's to me, it's the best. If you find me a better costume,
especially for comic book accuracy,
just sleek.
And I would say like the way to make that costume may be the hardest to make look like comic book accurate, but also practical in any way and modern.
Practical.
I mean, it's just it's a really great design. Marvel deserves a ton of credit. And again, we've talked about it. Like they've joked about how Elizabeth joked how the Scarlet Witch costume in the comics is ridiculous. She would never put that on.
Right.
But the way they modernized it and just I loved everything about it. I love the arm sleeves, the tiara is just like perfect size, perfect length. Just the costume having a hood, like even that was dope when she flew off.
Yo, when she put the hood on,
I was like, this is it. It's over. It's over. She's got a hood on this costume. This joint is lit. It's a tremendous costume, and it was a great moment when she like Shamari said, when she realizes that she puts on the runes, and she tells Agatha, I don't need you to tell me who I am. What do you guys think when she said those words? Because to me that was an interesting line. Do you think that deep down, and we see it in the vision we had last week of the past, where she saw something when she first came in contact with the Mind Suit. Do you think that she always knew she was the Scarlet Witch, and that this was kind of her maybe denying that part of her life in some ways, kind of like how Jean Grey has denied the Phoenix in the past? Or do you think that this was more like, okay, y'all saying this is who I am, it all makes sense now. Let me show you what I got, since you're the one, bringing the smoke. I'm gonna bring the smoke right back. What did you make of that line?
I mean, I took that more as, now she knows, and she's like, yes, this is it, and
yeah, I think it's
this is who I am, and this is what I'm gonna do about it.
Yeah, it was very that whole scene was very. You're right. There's definitely a lot of Phoenix vibes. Like Kevin Feige, this shows you just like, man, Marvel like would have done those Phoenix movies so much better. Now they kind of can't.
Yeah,
they could, but like I don't want to see it. But like because Fox has screwed them up twice. But like they would have done a good job. Because they did a good job with this, which is very smooth. They made a very similar story. A lot of Dragon Ball Z vibes with the going Super Saiyan. Like that's what it felt like as well. But yeah, no, I agree that I think that this was more her, realizing her transformation. There were a lot of interesting lines in this show. I mean, some of it in this episode, some of it we'll get to later, but yeah, the writing, was interesting.
Yeah, I think I lean towards you guys. I think it was her kind of just really taking it all in of what happened, and once she realized that, she's like, okay, now it's do or die here. And my kids are in danger. My whole world's in danger, and I'm up against a true threat. And again, Agatha really just a great villain, just like a perfect foil, well written. Catherine Hahn once again, another stellar performance. And I even love, her costume is kind of crazy, but I kind of really love it. Like to me, someone who is from the 1700s like should be dressed like that. And like a witch from 1700 would come. So like the fact that she like when she goes into this form, this is who she is. Like it was to me, it was accurate. It made sense. And like again, Kendall talking about the writing. Like I loved when Sword came in, and she's like, this is your future, Wanda. They always have pitchforks and torches for us, and she tried to take them out. Like it was again this. Don't confuse some of our critiques with like the expectations being falling short with not saying that this episode didn't have some issues. There was a lot of awesome stuff here, and I ended up enjoying a lot of it.
Another thing that I was not sure about was when, the all the people of Westview kind of like went mob mode, and like it was a little weird. Like maybe they were a little disoriented because of like everything they've had to go through. So they're like, but like it was a little too zombie-ish for like these people supposed to be like kind of waking up. For me, I mean, they wanted to tell it more horror-ish, but
yeah, I didn't mind it because to me, I mean,
I would have ran away. Like, to me, I'm not going closer to Wanda. I'm not talking to her. I'm trying to get out of it.
Yeah, I guess I didn't mind it. I thought I liked that scene. I guess to me. Now, they did have some issues with, like, when she tried to open the hex so they could run away. But some of them seemed to be not running towards the opening. And then when it was at the end, we saw that it seemed like none of them actually left. So there was, like, that was some...
Yeah, that was weird, too. I didn't even think
some of the action sequences they did there, and the writing there could have been a little better. You either gotta see them leave, or don't have her try to open it up to, because her opening up the hex, the only thing that did was display to us that, oh, you're right, if she opens this hex, her kids and Vision dies. But it didn't actually, and then of course it allowed Sword to come in, but it didn't save anyone, because again it appeared that no one left. I mean, maybe the people, I guess in theory, the people on the outskirts that were kind of just like sitting around dead or not really moving, like I'm sure maybe those people were able to then walk out, but anybody that was in the town circle or town square rather, they were not going to be. They were stuck, and again they didn't appear to be going towards where they would be.
That was
be
like
safe.
the next day, right?
No,
not the next day, but like that. Like maybe they came back. You know what I mean?
I didn't interpret it like that. To me, because to me, what happens is they fight, they win, And what's interesting, and again, what I really liked was, it showed Wanda just kind of has her own world. Like there, it's dusk turning into night. Even though, in actual Westview in the world, it's just like daytime. It's just regular daytime, which shows you just she's in a whole nother space when she's in there. But but they're about to put the kids to sleep, and then again when it all sets up, it's daytime. Yeah. And then when she walks out, they're all there, and they're all in their same clothes and stuff. So that was a little that was a little suspect to me.
Yeah, it definitely was shocking.
Because remember, Because remember, we see Jimmy and his crew. Once the hex is open, they all come through.
Right, and that only took an hour. Yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't a day. That was this all happened in a very short amount of time.
I'm also wondering the way this was shot. There's a lot of weird stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff, and I wonder if the pandemic affected like the way this episode finished, because it's like good. Even the end where like they're like, oh, where's Darcy? She's like, oh, something about debriefs. I'm like, Darcy had one scene in this whole episode.
Yeah, I was just about to say, shout out to Darcy for slamming into Hayward.
Yeah, and then leaving.
And then like that's it.
Yeah, you don't even see her again. Like that feels like something weird happened there. I don't know if they had any plans for Doctor Strange to show up, but his exclusion is strange. No pun intended.
There you go.
But his exclusion, I mean, I'm waiting the whole episode. I'm like, he's not even that far from there. I don't know. Maybe he's not in New York. Maybe he's not chilling at the Sanctum, but he's not that far. He's not intrigued by what's happening. I mean.
And it's funny because we, in this, Agatha says, your powers have exceeded the Sorcerer Supreme. I just knew. I was like, oh, we're definitely gonna see him now. We're definitely gonna see him show up. And yeah, nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of just chalk it. Though I know he's in the magic, this is one of the things I kind of chalk up to. It's kind of an old comic trope, old show.
Yeah, he could be any dimension. Yeah.
Where are the Avengers?
Right.
It's like,
that's the thing Marvel has to deal with. But it's just tough because like we know he's gonna be. We know that they're gonna be in Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. So it's like.
Yeah, I know.
We didn't get really a clean. Transition into that movie?
No. Yeah, definitely.
We really don't know. We'll have to see trailers.
So let's get to, and we'll get to some parts of this episode. I think we can kind of go out of order with what happened, but let's quickly talk about some of those post-credit scenes. Let's particularly talk about the post-credit scene, not the mid-credit scene. I mean, one could argue maybe that is the bridge to Doctor Strange.
That's definitely going to be part of the.
Now, it's not like super. Connected, but to me, Wanda display is continuing to display a power that not even Doctor Strange can display, because she's able to be getting a cup of tea, enjoying a good nice little sunrise in the mountain somewhere, and project her astral plane to be reading the Darkhold and learning hexes. Whenever we've seen Doctor Strange project himself in an astral plane, I mean, he's unconscious when he's not in that space. You know what I'm saying? Like, when he's in that space, he's unconscious. He can't be doing two things at once, and not something that invasive, or something that intense, like reading the Darkhold. So to me, and then we see, she the voices of her kids, and it's not, the sweet, kids going to sleep. It's, her still thinking about their screams as she's reading this book. So that to me speaks to that scene will certainly be the tie-in to Doctor Strange, and I think her dealings with the Darkhold will probably be what brings him, either brings about whoever the villain or the center of the movie will be, or perhaps even brings him right to Wanda's doorstep and be like, yo man, you're wilding, like you're dealing with some stuff.
So you don't think so you don't think that her, hearing, it seemed like that was Wiccan, that was Billy. You don't think that was a live kind of, Billy is out there, and like, because it felt like the look on her face was like, what was that? And then like,
I mean, that's why I'd have to watch the scene again. I mean,
it seemed like a multiverse kind of hint that like, oh, maybe there's another Billy out there who's got the same power, who's like reaching out, like, oh, help me, mom.
I mean, I don't know.
That was my interpretation.
Yeah, that was very open.
Yeah.
We don't see the kids die.
That's the thing too. I wonder, like, did somebody,
we don't see them die.
Or something like that?
We know Wiccan has magic powers. We don't know what the extent of his powers are. So I mean, he's very up in the air as to what exactly happened to them. But I took that as they're still out there somewhere, and Wanda's got to find them.
Yeah, I mean, Wiccan and Speed, man, I don't know I don't know what's happening with them. Kendall brings an interesting theory. Like, I know people are like, a lot of. It's funny because some of these, like, what we wrestling fans would call smarks, they've been kind of like, stunking on the people who had the big theories, and we've been those people. But I mean, I feel like they were right along for the ride with a lot of these theories. Now they're like being, oh yeah, you people with your crazy theories. I'm like, y'all were having the same theories we were having. Yeah. But that doesn't seem too crazy that maybe that is what is going on. I have to watch the scene, but I interpreted it as it was her. I guess you're saying that it was mostly Wiccan that she was hearing. I thought she was hearing both voices. I'd have to watch again, but I thought it was her kind of still reliving. I think the grief of like just seeing her kids in danger while she was doing this work, this very important work. And I think her kind of I thought it was her having the vision in her head, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't building a whole world, trapping a bunch of people, that not telling Vision, I created him on nothing. All that was wrong. But if I could just have my kids, this book could help me learn how to do that. Like, maybe that won't be so bad. That's how I interpreted what they were trying to tell us.
When we're talking also Doctor Strange, like, obviously, look, last week, we ran down a bunch of predictions that I laid out, and I don't think any of us got anything right, basically. But I think we were all over. But in terms of, one of the questions was, will we see any hint to the villain of Doctor Strange? We got nothing. And to me, that makes me think that Doctor Strange is going to be much more, not contained, because it's not going to be contained at all, but in terms of a villain, like, I wonder if Scarlet Witch is more anti-hero in that joint. And I feel like Mordo is, like, going to be the main villain. Like, Mordo...
I mean, we know he's going to be in it.
Yeah, we know he's going to be in it. That's what they hinted at the end of the first one, is that Mordo...
That is what they hinted at.
Gonna be... That's not like they were hinting at.
I guess the only problem, though, is... The only problem is, I mean, why on earth would I think that Strange and Wanda couldn't just wash Mordo in point?
So I don't think it's gonna be like Mordo. Yeah, because you're right about that. I don't think Mordo's fighting Strange.
Mordo wants zero smoke with Wanda and Doctor Strange.
But I feel like he could be pulling strings, maybe for someone else. I mean, like Loki. Like Loki, it wasn't single handedly.
Yeah, I mean Loki was fighting the Avengers, right?
Yeah. But I feel like he may be pulling some strings. He maybe there is some other guy, but like for the most of the movie, it's gonna be Baron Mordo, and maybe just something with the multiverse has to do with Baron Mordo's character. Those commercials. This is off the beaten path a little bit. I was just gonna say, but those commercials they didn't really explain. But one of the theories I had was that the Yo Magic commercial was a reference to like when Wanda loses her powers and she like goes all Vader mode and kind of gets all decrepit and old when Agnes steals her powers. Like, she
yeah,
continues to get decrepit, like in the Yo Magic commercial.
Yeah.
Like, the shark's like, oh, I'm snacking on Yo Magic, you know.
Yeah.
And
That's a
then
good
like,
one.
he can't eat the thing, and then, he eventually goes out.
Mm.
I feel like that was a reference to this episode.
That probably was.
It probably was a reference to, if not her, then maybe just Agnes's powers in general.
Right.
And what she did to the other witches too, where she just kind of sucked up all their magic and all that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of the other ones, I think I would love. This show has a lot. Like I really, whoever gets the first sit down with Jack Schaefer or Kevin, I mean, I really want to read it and hear everything they have to say, because there's a lot of questions. And again, I think that's the only thing I would say in terms of a besides like the expectations of Easter eggs and future of Marvel. The only other complaint I would have about this episode is just some of the loose ends. Like, what was the deal with Mr. Hart? Like, still don't know why that happened, who that guy was. We never saw that guy again. Like, he wasn't even a person that we just saw in the town again. And
I think some weird stuff happened with shooting.
Yeah, it could be, because some people were saying, oh, well, in the last episode we saw Mrs. Hart, that she had a wedding ring, but she was by herself. So, maybe Wanda knew that she was lonely and put her with another man in the neighborhood, which is a beautiful thing. And there are some little, like, when the last thing we saw, there were some little things that we noticed that, like, even though Wanda did kind of put these people in a hell, like, their lives were kind of better. It was a better version of the life
Wanda's
they were living.
Speech about, like, oh no, I gave you, this and that. It was like, I gave you lodging, I gave you free food, free lodging, free housing.
Like, that was a major Karen moment from Wanda.
Yeah, I don't know about this, Wanda.
Yeah, that's the one thing about Agatha, though. Again, she kind of ends up being like the voice of the audience. She's like, this is not heroic. I don't know what you're talking about. Or when she's like, when she was like, when Dottie, who her name was like Sarah or whatever her name was, she was like, saying stuff, and Wanda's like, oh, you're making her say this. She's like, I ain't do nothing. I just freed her from your spell. So, like, again, and that's what I thought. I was like, she didn't make her do that.
Like those people that said that, Killmonger was right. Like, was Agatha really like a villain? She was clearly had some weird intentions going on, but like on the one hand, was Wanda's punishment a little too harsh, given the situation?
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that this show actually did something I was really happy about, and to me, it's that they're keeping Agatha Harkness in the fold. They didn't kill her off. They didn't send her to some crazy dimension. We will never see her again. And, Wanda says, if I need you, I'll come for you. But, like, to me, she defeated her, and she's like, yeah, like, I got one up. But it didn't sound as much like, oh, I'll be there to beat you down again. It may be more of, like, I do need help with something that maybe you could teach me with. I feel like the Agatha role could absolutely transition into less of a villain role and more of, like, just a callback.
What we've seen in the comics.
Yeah, what we've seen in the comics, for sure. And, like, what Loki has been, what a lot of people in the Marvel Universe who we've seen kind of recurring, who maybe started off as villains, but, to me, like, I was really excited to see that. And to think that, every now and then, and I don't think it would be a lot, but maybe one of these movies in the future, or one project in the future, Wanda says, I know someone who helped us with it. And she has to go back to Westview and snap Agatha out of it, and she could be probably going crazy or whatever, and
right.
But I think that will probably end up being a good scene. But I think Captain Han, she will be back, I think, in the MCU, which I was really happy about.
Yeah. I mean, I think so too. She did a great job. They left the door open. I was really happy about that too. I was a little concerned they were going to either kill her off or do something else, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing her more in future properties.
Speaking of future properties, like, you mentioned White Vision just flies off. I wasn't sure about, what was going on with why, like, I thought he was going to wake up and like, oh, I'm entering the battle now, and
right, yeah.
He didn't, which was a surprising decision. I'm not knocking it, but it was an interesting choice by them.
Yeah.
And, like, where do we think he lines up going forward? Like, where does Vision fit into the MCU? There isn't, a Vision movie show coming out, so I don't know.
Is he gonna turn into the regular Vision? Is he just gonna be the? Because
I think he might be done.
He has all the memories.
He has all the memories.
So,
but he seems off.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Wanda and Vision have a very complicated relationship. They have a complicated relationship here, but they have a complicated relationship in the comics. And Vision has died and come back to life and been changed and been reprogrammed hundreds and millions of times. Yeah. And a lot of times it comes with that awkward thing of like Wanda being like, "Hey, it's like an ex. It's like you go to see an ex and you're like, hey, we've been through a lot, but you're not really the person that we were, and we're in different stages of our life. But there's still something there. I feel like Vision will still be in the fold in the Marvel Universe. I don't know if we'll see him as like an Avenger or anything like that. But to me, I think he will be a part of what happens moving forward. I think it was weird how he kind of left, but I almost was okay with that, because to me, like, if you were just a blank robot and you learned all this stuff about like your life basically in like one fell swoop, I mean, I don't like, to me, honestly, when that, like, to me, it's like a comic book trope or superhero or like a movie trope when that person like learns that they're a good guy and then just joins the fight and helps everybody. Like, no, any person who like goes through something like that, like, probably needs a minute. Yeah. Maybe more than a minute. Maybe they need a week. Maybe they need to just sit down and be like, yo, what just happened? What's going on? Like, he's got to process all that, and he's literally a robot or a synthesoid. So, like him saying, his reaction being, I gotta get out of here, is, again, makes sense. And I also think it's Vision. I mean, Vision is not, like, he's not very emotional. He's not, he's just not, he is empathetic, but it's just, and in that moment, I don't see him saying, "Oh, let me join Wanda in this fight." In that moment, I totally think that would be what he would do. He's like, "I need to go and process all this information. I need to just leave." So that to me, like, again, I liked a lot of everything that happened with Vision in this episode, because it all felt, both the Wanda creation Vision and the Sword creation Vision, I think it all felt very Vision-y. So I was pleased with all of it. And I thought him leaving actually made sense.
You mentioned earlier in this recap, you mentioned Monica Rambeau. She obviously, I thought she had a cool scene with Wiccan and Speed.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was cool to see them use their powers. You couldn't help but get like an Incredibles vibe, and seeing like the family kind of doing the thing, and you had Speed looking like Dash from the Incredibles and stuff. It was good, but first of all, Tyler Hayward, man, they just went full on. Like, he was trying to shoot them.
Yeah, like, he was. Yeah.
But again, like, they just went evil government.
Yeah, and that was. If there's another critique we're gonna give.
Yeah, you're right about that one.
Yeah, Shamari is nail on the head, man. If I'm gonna give another critique, I think that's gonna be my other main critique. I mean, just a government guy who was totally normal in the beginning, by the end of the season is ready to shoot kids. I mean,
so I think
there wasn't enough for me to make that leap.
I think what you were supposed to. Now again, I think this episode needed like an hour. Just an hour. Like, give me like one scene to like have them like talk to Hayward about what happened to you. But regardless, I think you're supposed to. I think that scene where he's talking to Monica about the 5 years, man, things changed. Like, I think that was supposed to be the indication. Like, this guy, he's. And I mean, look, I would have preferred that there was some other shoe to drop with the Hayward character, but. Because, again, you're just shooting kids and you're shooting Monica. Like, he was all chummy with Monica in episode 1. And he was willing to take her out. All for the sake of Vision?
Just to get Vision. To get Vision back.
Strange motivations. And then, what's the deal with Sword in general? Like, again, I mentioned this last week, but, like, are they just, like, an evil organization? Like, because that's a government. And look, the government is what you want. Yeah. They're not, clearly not the FBI. They're clearly not S.H.I.E.L.D.
I mean, Hayward seemed to be a rogue, a loose cannon.
But, like, we know in real life, like, you can't just, you're not supposed to just obey legal orders. Like, go along with it. Like, they're all complicit. When they walk over to Hayward, I'm like, what about the rest of those?
I know, yeah. They all should be in handcuffs, so I'm not concerned.
Yeah.
I know, yeah. I agree with most of that. And I did feel that. I think, we got to talk about the mid-credit scene with Monica in the theater, with the woman who is some kind of investigator who identifies herself as a Skrull, says, the big man upstairs has been watching you. and he wants you to pay a visit. And the assumption is he's talking about Nick Fury and his operations going on in space. You know, I don't know if that's supposed to be, you know, I almost wonder, and I think I said this on our previous review, like, to me, I wonder if, like, the Earth, like, there are levels to Sword. So, like, just like there were levels to Shield. So you had level 10 clearance, which is, like, the highest, and you had level 3. Like, I wonder if Hayward is, like, on a level 4 or 3. Like, I'm wondering if, like, anybody who's anybody might be in space. You know? Like, maybe, like, the people...
Even the look on her face was like, oh, I heard you got grounded. And the look when she said she was going to was like, oh, I'm, you know, maybe this is a big show. You know,
right, I'm going to the main roster.
Yeah, exactly. So,
like, that's what it looked like to me. So I'm almost wondering that they're going to kind of explain it the way to be like, yeah, the guys are on the ground on mall cops.
I also wonder, like, if Fury's operation isn't Sword. Like, if it's something else.
I also think that's possible.
Like, Sword was like a complete red herring in the show.
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible as well, because we've never seen a Sword logo. And remember,
we saw the logo.
I mean, we saw the logo
on the like in the facility and the facility. And...
No, I mean where Fury.
For Fury. Yeah, Fury.
We never saw a Sword logo. Everybody just jumped to Sword.
Yeah, right.
Also, I mean, remember, he was just working with almost like exclusively Skrulls. It didn't even like I didn't see a human. So again, people have just ran to Sword. There's a chance that maybe like what he's doing is not Sword. He could be doing something totally different.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be honest, I always felt like people running to that was a little weird. I'm just like, okay, he's in space in a ship, and he's clearly like working on something, but there's no humans, and we never considered Sword to be a colony of Skrulls working for Nick Fury. That's never been a thing. So I know people have talked about it, and I know it's been a rumor for a long time that Marvel wants to introduce Sword. So it wasn't crazy to go 1 + 1 = 2, but to me this was like 1 + 2 = 5, and I was just like, it doesn't quite match up, but maybe we'll figure this all out.
There have been some conversations.
Whispers.
Yeah, some whispers, or just some chatter amongst the people, and some of the people that were a little disappointed with some of the reveals. Are people getting a little tired of the Skrulls? I mean, we've only seen them in 3 movies. Really only 1 full movie and then 2 like post-credit scenes. But like, this reveal was like lamer, I think, than the Spider-Man one. And I don't know. Going into Secret Invasion, like people are like, look, another Skrull reveal is just like, how many more are you going to get?
Again, it goes
this
back
one. Go ahead,
Yeah, I was gonna say it goes back to what we've talked about. With the Skrulls being cuddly. These are cuddly Skrulls. They're very, very chummy, very happy. Yeah. They're almost props.
Historically, historically, like
there.
someone being a Skrull is like, it's an Earth.
It's supposed to be. You're supposed to be scared for your life.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be. Okay.
You were just a friend the whole time.
Really? Yeah, a friendly has arrived. Yeah, a friendly is here. Yeah, no.
But,
I mean, yeah, I was gonna agree with you guys. I think that is the crux of the issue. Is nobody that has appeared to be a Skrull has been threatening in any way. Like, to me, like Fury and Maria Hill being Skrulls, if that was actually like not something in coordination with Nick Fury and Maria Hill, would have been epic. Like, if you found out like that guy is a Skrull and he has his own mission, he was just in this situation with Spider-Man, like, that would be huge. It was, and I still like the reveal. I'm not like hating on Far From Home, but you combine that with what we saw in Captain Marvel, where again the Skrulls, you realize, are really more persecuted people. They're not bad people at all. And then you combine that now here, where it's like another friendly who is like, hey, Nick Fury sees what you're doing. Sees what you're doing, kid. He wants
like some scout.
Yeah, keep it up. I mean, he wants to see you up top. Like I don't like, and that's why Secret Invasion is gonna be so weird, because it's just like we've only seen the Skrulls in a positive light. Like at some point, like when they said, like, to be honest, when I heard them say Darcy left, like part of me, I still leaned that, oh, maybe she is a Skrull. Like maybe that's why she's not around for questioning or anything like that. Maybe she's like, it's best for me just to split, not to deal with any of these people. But like, I think that's the issue. And the other issue I was gonna say, because there's two things. So the fact that there's nothing menacing behind, but also there hasn't been anyone of significance revealed to be a Skrull. The Nick Fury significance decimated as soon as you knew he was in on it. Like, you need someone like who's in the Marvel universe, who is saying, like, who we just think is normal. That's not them, and the person, we don't know where the real person is. Like, that's what we need. We haven't gotten that yet. So, we need someone on the Avengers.
Ant-Man's been a Skrull the whole time,
or Ant-Man, or Wasp is a Skrull, or Janet Van Dyne's a Skrull. It's like something. Like, we haven't gotten anything like that. So because that's happened, I think that to me it does. That's the problem. So it's a decent setup, I guess, for that scene for Secret Invasion. But I just don't know what Secret Invasion is gonna look like, because they just haven't set up. They haven't set it up to look anything like Secret Invasion that we're accustomed to knowing.
Yeah, I'm really concerned, man. I'm not hitting the panic button on Secret Invasion, but like we need to temper our expectations on whatever we hoped of Secret Invasion, which should have been like an Avengers level project. It now seems like it's I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to be a sitcom, but I don't know. I don't know. I just won't. I can't get too excited until I see something. But this should have been more largely connected to the MCU. Like the Skrull should have been a Thanos level kind of thing, where it's like it's got to be a drip, drip, drip until the whole thing explodes. This is like a drip, 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 but it's not a villain, as far as we know. Like, they're just the Skrull.
I mean, I agree. I think our expectations kind of need to go down. I'm not hitting the panic button. I agree with you there as well. I'm not going crazy like, oh, it's going to be nothing. We don't know what it is. But the Skrulls thus far are completely not intimidating at all. They're not intimidating, not even a little bit. So, until we see some hint of that, there's no reason for us to believe that they're going to be the villains.
Now, my original theory has always been that the Skrulls in Secret Invasion, like, there's going to be a sect of Skrulls that are evil, and like that's going to be like the conflict.
Hopefully,
but I'll be honest though, I'm not interested in good Skrulls versus bad Skrulls. Like, that's just not interesting to me.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Like, that's
and look, I mean, I tend to agree. Like, that shouldn't be it should be the Avengers versus the Skrulls.
Right, exactly.
Marvel versus the Skrulls.
Maybe Super Skrull is leading the bad Skrulls or something.
But like, I think there's going to be a couple that have infiltrated the government. Maybe one that is like an Avenger or something like that. But I don't think it's going to be to the magnitude that we got in the comics, which is unfortunate. But it still is interesting. Do we think this is a direct tie-in to Secret Invasion, or do we think that Lieutenant Fury is in Captain Marvel too, or both?
I think this is more Secret. I mean, I assume Secret Invasion is before Captain Marvel. I think this is more Secret Invasion.
I agree.
I don't. My feeling is Captain Marvel is going to move on from Skrulls. That's the feeling I get. I can be wrong. I just get a feeling like we're not going to be dealing with Skrull issues. At least they're not going to be in the forefront. I feel like whatever lasting thing we got to deal with the Skrulls, we're going to deal with that in Secret Invasion. And I mean, you got 6 hours to figure it out. I mean, that's plenty of time.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
But I will say, this going back to this episode, I thought it was a really great, character-driven story. I think the season as a whole has been a really great, character examination of grief, a character examination of just these two figures, Wanda and Vision. And I thought it culminated in a very emotional episode. Like, what this episode didn't give you with highlight moments of, secrets, surprises and oh my god moments. It hits you with the raw emotion. It hits you with the character development. It hits you with, seeing Wanda fully come through into this, Scarlet Witch persona. All those hit so well. And again, that's why some of these issues that we have, they're so forgivable. And man, there's a lot of stuff that we wouldn't be able to forgive a lot of projects for some of the things that they didn't explain or didn't tie in or didn't push further. But because, again, the performances are so well, because it's written so well, you just are able to forgive it because it's just a damn enjoyable experience. And that's how I would explain this episode. That's how I explain this whole show. It's like you're expecting the moon and the stars because of just what they're setting up. You may not get the moon and the stars, man. You get a hell of a lot, and it's really fun, and you're really invested. And I had a blast watching the whole season.
Yeah, yeah. I thought this season was fantastic. I thought the series was fantastic. The acting performances were great. I mean, Elizabeth Olsen, fantastic, wonderful job. You know, this took two side characters, 100%. They were side characters, and just pushed them right to the forefront of the MCU. So these are characters I'll be watching much more closely now. I'm much more invested in, like I said in one of our other reviews, their relationship. I'm much more interested in their storyline, in Scarlet Witch's storyline. I feel like this whole Disney Plus thing is really good for the MCU because you can really flesh out, these characters. I didn't care all that much about Scarlet Witch before this.
Yeah, it was when they announced, not even when they announced WandaVision, that was what it was. We had our reaction, which was, tempered. But
Right.
When they announced that she was in Doctor Strange, like even that was like, okay, I don't know what to make of this, But now, I mean, the excitement for Doctor Strange, not only because it's called the Multiverse of Madness, which was the initial excitement, but now it's because like we're going to see more of Scarlet Witch. Like that's almost more exciting than whatever multiverse story we're going to get.
Right, and because of how much character development we had with Wanda, we had almost 6 hours of it. A big element of this movie, we're now super invested in.
Yeah.
If Wanda's been in another movie, she would have just been dropped in. We had no WandaVision or anything. It would have been a nice thing. Oh, cool, Wanda's in this movie. But like,
it would have felt more cameo-ish.
Yeah, but now that we know what she's been through, we know her development, we know how she's grown. It just, your interest and your intrigue into her role in this movie is just way bigger. Anything she's involved in, you care more about. It's just it's a really, I mean, Marvel's doing a really smart thing with how they're doing this. I do wonder if they're gonna be in a situation where we question, are they gonna be safe with these Disney Plus projects? Because I think the one thing I will say is, there's anything that I would say this episode did confirm, is that Marvel, I think they produced an excellent episode for the most part, but it was something that was extremely safe. The question was, with these Disney Plus projects, how essential were they going to be to viewing? To me, this is essential viewing because it's so good. It's so good. And yeah, you Wanda's in Doctor Strange. You probably want to know how she had the tiara, what's going on. But I do hope they do take bold steps in these shows. I don't want them to kind of just be only used to be bridges to other movies. I want these to be things where important things happen in them as well. Not saying nothing important didn't happen here. A lot of important stuff happened.
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
I just that was my one takeaway, was that this was really great, and it's not safe in terms of the formatting they did, but in terms of the result we got in the end, it was pretty safe. I'm hoping that other projects take more leaps.
Yeah, I think the goal for this one, it seems like what Feige and the you mentioned Jack Schaefer and Matt Shackman, I think when they talked about this series, I think they wanted to focus a lot of it on the character development piece. With Paul Bettany's character Vision, obviously, and Wanda. But I agree. I think there are some steps that I think they have to take. But some of it is also, you think about with the Mandalorian and Star Wars. Season 1 was, outside of the first episode where you get the whole Baby Yoda reveal, like it's slower, and then season 2 picks up midway through the season, and then at that point, like you get to the end, which was the end, obviously. But and there is no season 2 of WandaVision, like that's it. But like maybe they also have a certain, maybe not every show is going to be the same, like the Falcon and Winter Soldier formatted differently, less episodes, maybe that will be more there will be more shock value in what we see. I don't know. But to me, it's just going to be fascinating, just to see, like, because again, like you mentioned, someone like Wanda and Vision getting the character development we got, like seeing that from Hawkeye's character, like seeing that for Bucky and Falcon, like all these side characters now are gonna have so much more meat on their characters.
Even someone like Jimmy Woo, who I expect to be definitely in the fold in the future. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we'll see Jimmy and we'll see Darcy in the future. I think Darcy, I think, has already been confirmed, maybe, but
Yeah, she said she's in at least one more something.
yeah, exactly. So when we see Jimmy again, I mean, I'm really excited for that. I thought he had a good episode this week, even for the scenes he had. So yeah, all these characters, now it's not just they're that person that we saw in the last movie for 2 minutes. Now it's like we've actually been on a little journey with these side characters, so that it just adds a little more weight to it. I think we're an hour in. I think this is the time to do our episode ratings. And I think we should combine the rating with also a season rating for WandaVision. So I'll go first. I'll give the series finale of WandaVision an 8, and I'll go with the season an 8.5. I think that the season finale was good. It was gripping. It was emotional. It gave us the moment we needed with her becoming the true Scarlet Witch and kind of really advancing her in a way that is definitely going to be interesting to follow. Again, like we said a million times this episode, it needed an hour. It needed another 10 minutes to flush out a couple more things, and I wish that they would have taken some more bold steps. And the Ralph Boner thing, it just ends up being just a fart joke to me. It just was the most just kind of lowbrow,
Juvenile,
not interesting, juvenile way to crap on the fans for something that they were really excited about. There are ways you can twist the fans and make it not as much a kick in the pants, but this one was, man. It just did not land, and that to me probably brought the whole score down, probably at least half a point for me. But with that being said, still a lot of good stuff. I really enjoyed it. It was emotional for me, and it was a good episode. The series as a whole, really fun time. It was a great journey. Seeing these characters developed over the course of time, the nods, the attention to detail. Shout out to Shackman and Schaefer, their attention to detail. They're students of the game when it comes to sitcoms. When it came to transitioning to more Marvel movie like content, it looked just like a Marvel movie. It fit in just the way it should. It was great. And then shout out again to Bettany and Olsen. Both of them deserve, and the whole show deserves, award season buzz. If we're not hearing about Olsen, Bettany, Schaefer, or any of the the squad for award season, there's a problem. I mean, this was a really great project, groundbreaking project, and I hope that I'll be nice today. The smart people at the academies give them its due. 8.5 for the season, 8 for this episode.
Yeah. So I guess I'll say that the episode I'll give an 8.5. I think it probably should have got a 9, but I think the reveals and them, not necessarily it's not like the reveals were fine. Like whatever we got was fine, but just the hype that they built and then the letdown, the self-inflicted. They didn't need to do it, and you have to dock them, I think, half a point just for that. So I'm gonna go 8.5 on the episode, and I'll go 9 on the series. The expectations for the series were not super high. Not the Disney Plus series that if you would ask me which one are you most excited for, certainly would not have said WandaVision, probably would have said Falcon and Winter Soldier. Shout out to, like you said, the entire crew and cast for putting on an epic performance. But I think one of the things you mentioned that I didn't get to mention was also to me the CGI and the graphics for this episode were incredible. When they're fighting, Agnes or Agatha and Wanda, and the Hex is being out of whack. Like it looks like a Marvel movie.
Movie quality.
Yeah, that's tremendous credit. I can't wait to see Falcon and Winter Soldier in that same light. We really don't know what the third act of Falcon and Winter Soldier is going to look like. Like we didn't know what this one was going to look like either, but you kind of could have surmised, it's going to be something like this. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier, we don't know. I mean, is he Nemo? Like I don't even know. So, I just can't wait to see all these shows because they all look like this, and this is an excellent start. So I will give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, this was such a fun ride. I mean, I thought this was a fantastic show. As I said at the start. I mean, I'll give the finale a 9, and I'll give the show an 8.5. I thought this was a great finale. It was great. It gave me basically everything I wanted. The only reason I can't go higher than a 9 is a lack of reveals, and then the reveals not being that important.
Or addressed.
Yeah, or just not addressed, like you said. So I would have given it higher. It was a great finale. I got everything I wanted. I got emotion, I got action, I got great effects, story. You know, I wasn't dissatisfied. So I'm going 9 for the episode. The show was 8.5. It was very solid. It was very solid. Acting on point, effects on point, a lot of crazy throwbacks, sending you way back in time. A lot of nostalgia, and just a lot of emotion towards the end. So it was really cool to see. I was very impressed by the cast, the crew, the writers, all that. So yeah, I'll give it 8.5 overall.
Do we what do we like? Do we think it's interesting how the initial calendar for the show, this was supposed to come out right before Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is coming out, supposed to come out in May 21. This is supposed to come out spring of 21, right before. Now, Doctor Strange isn't coming out till March. Do you think that also affects why people are not as cool with maybe them not revealing as much? I feel if we knew that Doctor Strange would come out a month from now, then I wouldn't care about any of these non-reveals. I'd be
that's a good
wait
point.
for Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point. I think that to me also because it's not so up against Doctor Strange, what we're expecting, and there are a lot of Mephisto, what we see Nightmare, but even outside of that, when it came to multiverse and mutants and things like that, those expectations wouldn't be as high because we'd be more linked to what's going to be this from Doctor Strange's perspective.
Right.
So I think that in some ways, the expectations, I think, would have actually been lower in a weird way had it been right up against Doctor Strange. We expect Doctor Strange to explain a lot, but I think that we would probably assume this would play more in that sandbox. Whereas, because it's so far away, we don't connect, even though we know it's connected to Doctor Strange, we don't connect it as much in our head. So in our head, we're like, oh yeah, we know it's Doctor Strange, but are they gonna do everything with the X-Men? We're jumping to things that maybe if it was laid out the way it was supposed to in terms of Marvel's original calendar, we wouldn't have jumped to those conclusions.
I think we're still gonna get some multiverse stuff in Doctor Strange. I mean, the title says Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, I think we will too.
We're gonna see a lot of people. Maybe we'll see some X-Men stuff. In Multiverse of Madness.
It's gonna be ridiculous.
So I mean, people may have been disappointed by this show, but I still think there's a very good chance we're going to get a lot of stuff in Doctor Strange.
Yep, I would say stay tuned when it comes to multiverse stuff and mutant stuff, and I do think Doctor Strange could be a great vehicle for that. Man, thank you guys for being on this journey with us. Obviously, you've been on a journey watching the show, and you've taken the time, whether it's been watching just this finale recap or watching all of our recaps. We really appreciate you guys sticking it out with us. I know Sham jumped in mid-season, and it was really great to be able to do a three-man review with the whole New Generation Media squad. And thank you to our subscribers who have stuck with us. Some maybe who are not accustomed to seeing us do so much hero content. Some maybe expecting more basketball content. The basketball content, the sports content is very, very soon on the way. So that stuff will be coming as well. But we appreciate you guys for sticking with us throughout this journey into the WandaVision show. Again, no rest for the weary because 2 weeks from now we got Captain. I always want to say Captain America when I think of Falcon having the shield, but it's Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's a 6-episode review, and I think that we'll be doing that as well. So make sure you're up on that. Once again, we'll have plenty of sports content coming up as well. So if you like this, subscribe to the channel. Give us your comments in the comment section. What do you guys think of the series finale and the series as a whole, WandaVision? Were you impressed? Were you disappointed? Give us your thoughts in the comment section. If you liked the video, make sure you give us a like. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel, New Generation Media. And if you enjoy these kind of conversations, make sure you check out our Hero Talk podcast, New Generation Hero Talk. You can find that on the New Generation Podcast Network. We're on Apple's Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Thank you guys so much for checking this out. For Shamari, for Kendall, I'm EJ. Take it easy, guys. Peace.